Good morning, good afternoon. This is Eric and the folks in Austin. How is everybody doing?
Good morning. Doing well.
Hi, we're doing good.
Morning.
Hi guys. Hey guys. We're gonna get the video fired up here. I know it's a bit early in Fife, and so we always are cognizant and appreciative of you joining us on Monday morning. At least you have coffee. We don't have coffee in Austin because we are having a water issue with all of the floods, and so we have to boil everything. And coffee temperature just isn't hot enough. So
Oh, wow. We'll send you some cups or something.
we've got good coffee in that neck of the woods.
Don't you eat?
Oh, yeah, we do. Bar Green has its own line of coffee.
Yeah, Bar Green.
Yeah, that would be good. 3 minutes of boiling water for those playing locally here. So that's what you need.
Right.
That's right. James is having the self-realization that he may not have boiled his water enough this morning. So we'll see. We only have one Zetlon on the project. We really need to wrap your bubble wrap at this point. So
Listen, do you guys watch local news or something? I was not told to boil my water.
Oh yeah, alarms, everything went off this morning. You can't get water anywhere in any store right now. It is like pandemonium.
It's empty.
Yeah.
You're kidding me.
No.
That should be
I know.
I don't care. Okay, no, I do care about Amber Alerts. I'm sorry, I do. But I feel like I get Amber Alerts, but I don't get the water will kill you alert.
Yeah, it's a different level.
Okay.
Excellent.
Subject change. Speaking of disasters, Bar Green, have you had any trouble with GitHub this morning? Am I the only one?
It's in read only right now.
Read only, yeah.
Yeah, all right. Okay. Cool.
Good. No coffee, no GitHub.
EPAM says that it's fine. So if we can all connect to Belarusian GitHub, then I guess we're going to be okay.
All right. There you go. Well, let's go ahead and get started. We have got quite a bit to cover, folks, and so I'm taking a look at the agenda, which I know had a chance to review with some of you here, and so we're going to start off with Mr. Kalkoban, who's going to walk us through a lot of great improvements on the documentation side. Then switch gears to Samya. So sneak peek is promised for some of the payments work, which we're doing some discovery on in parallel. So that'll be, I think, will be of interest to folks. And then some updates from Bar Green. So it looks like we got a full house from Bar Green in Fife, which is fantastic. And so a lot of recent progress, some of which you've probably seen in Slack, but for those who have not kept up with that, you'll get a peek at some of the work on the product options, product details, and I think one item that didn't make it 2 weeks ago, which is the editable cart for that one. So it looks like that one's up and running on their servers. And then I did leave some time for Artem on the product slider. I don't know if that's ready to show, but I put that in there. If we have time, always would love to see some in progress work on that. So so that's the lineup for today. Any questions or comments before we get going?
Nope, all good.
All right, let's do this. James, let's get us started with some documentation. I'll stop sharing.
You guys see this?
Yeah.
We're good.
Cool. All right, so the first one I wanted to highlight was a community contribution from Martin Hansen. He's on the call.
Hi, Martin.
So thanks for the contribution.
Hey, guys.
You're
welcome.
Yeah, CSS modules, he contributed this, pretty much the whole topic. He goes over how to use CSS modules and, code samples are everywhere.
I love it.
Yep.
I was just on a technical call with EPAM, and there's some sort of confusion a little bit about what our classify component does, and knowing that with Jimmy still out on medical leave, that we've got somebody addressing our CSS architecture, really talking about it in detail, is very, very heartwarming for me. Great relief. So thank you very much.
Very good. And it's also a good story for the questions we often get. Again, you guys are all familiar with this, but on the outside, the kind of the SaaS and less question, right? We are moving forward with CSS modules.
Yeah.
This is a big part of that, and this gets into a little bit more detail on our perspective on things. So yeah, thank you, Martin, for this one, and thank you for James for taking a look at this in review.
Cool. So the next one I'd like to highlight is the storybook testing. This is what we use to test our UI components. It also functions as a sort of reference, a visual reference. So this topic talks about that and how that's integrated into our project. Provide some guidance on creating and documenting storybook tests.
Cool.
The next one, I'd like to highlight the Venya directory structure. This one has been requested by some folks that want to know just where everything goes and some of the important files in the Venya project. So this goes over all that and some links to the concepts like what are reducts, actions, reducers, in case people are wondering what the technologies are behind these files. And the last one I wanted to show is Upward documentation. It's not published yet because GitHub is
Cool.
so it'll be under this overview. It's basically answers what is Upward, what its place is in the PWA studio. It's just a very high level explanation of what it is and how it will help.
This is one of those times when I really wish I'd kept the name Updog.
That was the internal code name, of course.
That was, yeah.
Created the question, what's up, dog?
Exactly.
Unfortunately, so. No, this is good. So James, you think this will be in good shape to publish once GitHub
once GitHub
comes back,
I'll get it this
back
morning.
Okay.
There's also a reference implementation of the Upward.js package, just in case anyone's curious.
Yeah.
It's basically a reference implementation similar to Venya of the Upward specification.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, this is great stuff. We've had this pipeline for a bit, and a lot of it obviously coming by way of some of the recent architectural changes from James and the Upward work. And so, as more and more folks join us, both internally and externally, these are huge, right? And that's why we've really been busy in this area, and we think this will be a big win. But give us feedback on it. Let us know what you think. Send us some PRs. We keep getting them. We keep taking a look at them. We actually just had 5 external PRs last week alone. Including some on docs, which is great. So
it's awesome. And I mean, with Upward, bear in mind that it's still evolving towards usefulness in a way. I'll be frank about that. Right now, what it helps us to do is, for instance, populate really simple HTML bits and box, metadata, etc. I'm interested in, for instance, having a build time step that creates a fake mock data for GraphQL that has mustaches in it, and then can auto-generate an app shell based on a single render of React or something like that. Pierre Martin, is Pierre on the call?
He's not.
Well, he has an idea for schema stitching as an Upward feature, which is extraordinary. I've been wanting that. And it's come to my attention that our images are gigantic and that there's no API for using Magento's image resolution and resizing. So maybe Upward should do something like that. It's hard to know what its scope is sometimes, but it's worth discussing. It's for PWA. PWAs need images. Maybe it should have an image resolver that can proxy and modify images.
So are there any questions about documentation?
Why is it so awesome?
Very good.
It really looks good.
It does, yeah. Thank you so much. All right, so let's go ahead and switch gears then. I think a lot of folks have been interested, and we've gotten a lot of questions on payments, and so Simon's going to walk us through some of the early work on that, and we'll take it from there.
All right. Okay, so after looking at some of the existing models out there and reviewing internally with Zetlin, Eric, Andrew, and James, kind of the approach that we're proposing for this is to sort of bifurcate the user at the beginning, since the first two options we're planning to explore is PayPal and then guest checkout. So if they were to click PayPal, then it would go outside, it would do the PayPal validation and pop them back into this sort of confirmation screen, which has the shipping payment and then some standard shipping options displayed, and then they would be able to confirm the order and go through with checkout. However, if they chose to go the guest checkout way, then it would pop them into sort of a 0 state of the same draw configuration where they wouldn't have, if this was the first time, or since this is guest checkout, they would have to add shipping and billing information, and it would be preloaded with the standard shipping method, whatever that is. So if they hit add shipping information, it brings up the shipping information screen where you would be able to add your all the pertinent details, and then you hit done. Whoops, don't know what happened. InVision has been fantastic this week or last week.
It would, the GitHub gremlins as well.
Yeah, it would take them back to this screen where they would hit add billing information. This would be pre-checked as a standard, but they could uncheck it, and then it would open up sort of the address fields for them. Then they would say, yes, I'm done, and then they would be able to confirm order, and they would go to the order confirmation screen. So that's kind of what we have right now. And then if you noticed on the screen where information has already been filled out, the initial prompt changes to kind of indicate that you can edit those entries. We haven't dealt with the prompt to either save a shipping address or save a credit card, because then we get into sort of the my account territory, and we're not dealing with that for MVP right now. It would just be PayPal and guest checkout. So that's what we have so far. Any questions? And the draw model is actually kind of quite similar to how the Amazon app does it as well.
It all looks good. It all looks good to me. I guess I want to know what the proposed size of the hitbox is on that edit. I mean, is the idea that the icon is small, but like you hit anywhere in that square and it'll go into edit mode?
Yeah, the icon's just an indicator, but really the entire area, the entire row could be tappable.
Yeah, and the hope is that there'll be some reuse with this and some of the recent work that we'll actually see here from Bargreen in just a bit, where there'll be this common experience inside of this. I think, again, a lot of folks will ask us kind of why payment, but it's also in response to some of the feedback we've got in terms of our viability. And so you'll see a lot of the work here. We are thinking about things like the offline experience and all the mechanics around that, what it means to make a commit if suddenly you lose connection. But I think Sami's done a really nice job setting this up with what we believe is certainly very viable, but also fairly straightforward. Some of the basic integrations that are available within Magento too. And so we're super excited about it. And again, this will be part of kind of our final stretch over the next sprint or two to pull this together. Cool. Thank you, Samia.
Yeah, and all of these screens are up on the community shared prototype, as is Add to Home, and yeah, I think it should all be up to date with what we want to consider the immediate future.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely. Yeah, we stuck these on Friday, but we didn't have a chance to groom them on Friday, so this will be up for next. And so for anyone who's following carefully, they may have actually seen a preview of themselves, but we're just testing to see. What was intentional is that we want to see who's paying attention. So very good.
Cool.
Great. Thank you, Samia.
Thank you.
All right. So let's switch gears then. Looking at the lineup, we've got a pretty hefty update from our friends in Fife, and so we've got updates that include again some of the work around product options, the more complex product detail scenarios, and then pagination, which I know is in progress, but I know that they're excited to share that, as well as a bit of a carryover we haven't had a chance to demo, which again is that the editable shopping cart, which I think plays well in what we were just talking around with payments. So with that, we'll switch gears and hear from Paul and team.
All right. Go ahead and start sharing the screen here.
Is that sharing?
All right, good. Can you guys see our screen here?
Not yet.
Not yet.
No.
All righty.
Oh, yeah, you guys.
I got it. All right. Here we go.
There we go.
Perfect. Okay. All right. So this is the men's tops page. Has enough products here that starts breaking down into multiple pages here. So right now, my paginator, it's the arrows will navigate to the little page marker from side to side. Once it hits one of the edges, these arrows go dead. Right now the square stays centered wherever you navigate. Now, whenever a new page is hit, it does a full page load because category is a root component. And so the paginator is part of that. I've been considering trying to make some kind of implementation where the pagination component persists. So it's not so much of an abrupt reload. But once these are hit, these are all cached. So it happens much quicker than it does in the first iterations. But yeah, this is more or less the meat of it right now. Whenever you hit the left or the right sides, it kind of anchors to those. And
Question.
yeah, absolutely.
So let's assume that you went serially through pages 1 through 4 and then you hit 7, right?
Right.
And then if I hit the back arrow, 6 has not been visited yet, so it would still, in the current context, do a full page refresh, right? It's not like it would
Right.
have loaded those pages in the background as you jump to 7.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, currently, we jump to page 7, it would do a hard reload, and because page 6 hadn't been hit yet, it would also do a hard reload.
Right. Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I like the idea, as we had discussed last week, of trying to persist this and not have it reload with the page.
Mm-hmm.
That way we could also use it to kind of let the user know they clicked it. Maybe the marker moves over to 4 and then the page loads in the background.
Right.
So they know something's about to happen. It's a good opportunity to do that if those two were not coupled so tightly together, but just a thought.
Yeah, and I'm certainly open to ideas on that too. How to re-render one component without getting the other one. Really exploring that further. All right, on to product options.
Great. Yeah, it looks really solid. Thank you so much. I know this one's a bit in progress, but I think it's really good progress from where we started on that. So thank you so much.
Thank you. All right.
Okay, so we'll switch to looking at product options. This has been long in coming. So right now, all this stuff comes from the GraphQL API, all the configurable options for a product. So swatch color doesn't actually come from the GraphQL API yet, but I've got mocks from the color names to the actual hex values for now. And currently, the disabled options don't show up because I wanted to open that up to more of a community discussion on how we want to implement that. I'm not sure there's going to be backend logic for actually calculating which objects are disabled or not, because that can get kind of complicated. So I've left that as a separate issue for now. But when not all of these are selected, the add to cart button is disabled, and I'm not sure how we want to communicate that to the user. I wanted to touch base with Soumya on how we want to actually do that. So we'll delve more into that. And of course, you can
just a quick note on the add to cart. I mean, that's meant to be a sticky at the bottom on mobile. Yeah, because you don't want to, and even if it weren't, you definitely don't want to have add to wish list ahead of add to cart because the whole thing is conversion, right? So I think that the design has the add to wish list right under the big image at the top, and the add to cart is sticky at the bottom, similar to the pagination. And the mockups are all, there is a PD page mockup, which I can separately link you to on Slack. But we want to kind of keep that model of actions being sticky in the footer, the most important action on the page. My other note was on size. If we are going to have a tooltip show up, we should probably spell out the sizes extra small, small, and not just have the same text.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, Salmi and folks, yeah, just a couple notes on this one. So I would say for MVP, I would say being inventory aware is probably something we'll probably defer for that. And so Paul, I think it's great you call that out. We definitely want to have a viewpoint on that one because, I think we've seen 17 available on a lot of things, not, across all the different works per se, but I think look for a cut line on that one, which I think is fine, right? Again, if you look at something that's workable. And then, yeah, on the, on Sami's point on the add to wish list to add to cart, actually see what you did there with regard to the master product details experience, which actually has it fairly similar to how you've done it. I think we just need to look at kind of a master template, master change across that would bring this closer to what we've got. But again, something that's more universal based, but we would just find a way to merge between what you've got on basically options than to kind of what we do on kind of the more simple product details page. And so we'll look for that as well, but we'll set up some follow-ups on that one, which would then just give that a universal experience. And so I definitely see where you had it on that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm not sure also like how the GraphQL, if I can get like a actual label for these size things, I'll look into that. I think that's why they're still just S's. So I'm not sure if like in the actual sample data, they actually list this as small.
Yeah. Ideally, if we were looking at, without any help from data on that one, from an accessibility and other standpoints, it'd be great to spell that out. But, yeah, we'll work with what we've got from any type of limitation.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
The Venia data does not have more than 2 dimensions of options anywhere.
Yeah.
So right now this is doable, and I think just for expediency, we should continue with it. But
yeah,
we already had the discussion, right, about like, this is totally untenable. You guys noticed it. It's hilarious and geometric and all that good stuff. But we're putting in the request through the proper channels to GraphQL,
yep,
and we're going to talk about it. And the thing is, you guys have built this. I have not written my code review for you yet, but I've looked at it, and you guys have built this in such a way that you can swap your implementation out and leave the presentational components as is when this API is available. So, sorry, I meant to say he is giving thumbs up in this picture. Forgot about the accessibility issue. So yeah.
No, I think it's good feedback, and it's also something to watch out too for, again, not with this, but in general, as we start to dive into more product details and other aspects with that relate to sample data. So James and I had a good chat with the folks who own that. And so as we debug and add new functionality and look at coverage, there may be instances where we would just tweak the sample data, and we're looking at that as an entity and a resource as well throughout that. Right now, that's not something we've had much liberty to play around with, but we had a good chat with them to figure out how that might help and or relate to things. And that's more of a side conversation, more of a deeper conversation on the side. But as we hit items where we're trying to look at coverage and for sample data, that too is an aspect where we might want to introduce some change.
Yeah, bear in mind that the sample data right now doesn't have everything that satisfies the use cases that we're trying to cover. Again, for expediency, just feel free to change the sample data. Like, just change the instance data if you have access to the instance. If you don't, mock it. But, we should provision a couple more cloud instances so it's easy to go and make that change. But the issue that we're trying to get out ahead of is a lot of people need to change the sample data. When we get end-to-end testing together, then we need to consolidate all the data that people made that satisfies their use cases and then rev the sample data, push it as a dependency. So eventually we want that automated. For now, we just ask that when you open a pull request, if you know that the data needs to change in order to satisfy and demonstrate what you've made, just notate that.
Yep.
Because otherwise it'll break and you won't know why.
It is. And then just to reiterate, essentially the approach from Bar Green is to identify some of the dependencies, but keep going, right? Mock them out, keep going, and then we'll come back around to them. So the way this has been done is, continues to be a really good example for that. So we appreciate that.
Okay, so to clarify, you actually want us to assume we'll actually get the sample data we want, and then just mention that in our pull request?
So what you need to do is mention what sample data is missing in the pull request and what you had to modify or mock in order to make this work.
Okay.
Then that's going to at least set in motion the process of making that sample data part of the default provisioning.
Cool.
It's cool.
Very good. Sorry to interrupt. You guys can keep going. I just thought this was timely for that. So.
Sorry, one other question on this screen. So I see that the quantity field doesn't seem to have control that indicates, oh, it's a drop down. Okay. So on mobile, it's going to use the device default, right, of Android or iOS. One is that sort of roulette type thing on iOS, and then on Android, it's sort of a radio button selection when you hit quantity.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we need an indicator that says you can, that it looks right now it looks like a field you type into.
I didn't touch this component. This is already here.
Okay.
But
Okay. Yeah, and the label style is different than the other two for color and size as well. So we probably want to look at that. And I discussed that with Jimmy, and it would be whatever the device default is. And there are mock-ups for that. I can add them to the shared community one if you guys are going to tackle that at all. If not, let's not worry about it, and we can deal with it when we're ready to. But just a note.
yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
Cool.
Yeah. Hey guys, this is Dmitry. So I guess I got a question about color schema. So in case, just imagine in case we get white color. So what about thick color? So do we get the same white, or it will change it automatically to gray or black? So what do you think? I just worried about mobile and desktop. Is it supported automatically and change it automatically, or we need to add some kind of logic to that?
So if we get like a white color in the swatch thing, right now that would kind of like fade into the background. Do we want to add like an outline to these?
I think just adding an outline that is the official Venia gray, like if you look in there, just adding like a hairline outline is the safe way to proceed. Same as the, obviously it's the HRs that you see right there, just use the same style and you're good.
Right, yeah,
Cool.
these things.
And the actual check mark itself does have logic to change color. If the background color is light or is dark, then it'll be light, and vice versa.
Are you doing you're doing an HSL check to do that?
Yes. I forget who.
That was somebody that worked with Samya. Samya, that was somebody you worked with, right? That helped come up with that.
Sorry, I missed that. I was responding to someone else on Slack. Could you repeat the question,
Oh,
please?
the check mark changing colors based on the background. I remember you helped us with that.
Yeah, that was Eugene Bannick's fix that he made for the
Yeah.
Quasar prototype, and so he's been reviewing this too, and so he said, "Oh, I had implemented a fix for that if you guys want to use it." So I connected him with Bar Green folks, and I think they talked about it last week.
Yeah, that was very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, that was.
Sure, of course.
There's modules that do that. I had not seen whether you had used one of those, and I just wanted to make sure that you weren't using the one that is like 100 kilobytes because it has a bunch of color spaces in it. But it looks like you guys did the right. Yay!
Yeah.
Cool.
All right, so then final thing, add it to the cart. And it goes in the cart. Then yeah, the next thing we have is Cooper's like product edit menu, checkout options.
Right. So, yeah, we have these little kebabs in the mini carts that give us our checkout options. Now, two out of these three features are mocked up because they weren't quite supported in GraphQL yet, or rather, edit item is of course kind of intrinsically tied to Paul's work here.
Yep.
And so of course we haven't had them in one place before now. So if you go to the edit item screen, this is just a mocked component that's just kind of static, but it will illustrate that in the edit cart state, the little X up here does keep the cart state still in the edit screen, whereas the cancel is what brings you back to the mini cart. Apart from that, add to favorites has a neat little, fills in the heart. Of course, that's just another mocked up feature. We can change how that gets, because I know there's a toast that's supposed to come down once this is clicked. And I know that Magento has a wishlist feature, but no REST API endpoint at present to interact with that wishlist.
Yeah, Cooper, for this one, we actually had a discussion last week about this, and so as we start to look at the line for next month, wish list, of course, would be fantastic, but I think that along with some other functionality we're looking at around sort and filter, we'll probably look at that for the next release. If for the only reason why that the API coverage just won't be there for that one. So I think what you have there is probably sufficient. I think the big focus of this one clearly is going to be edit and remove, which is I think is perfect for that. But the idea of wish list in general will be something that we'll probably stub out for this release and come back around to later.
Yeah, and same goes for the product filtering and sorting, which is kind of something we ascertained last week. We talked about this grooming, right? That the way that the GraphQL API works right now, like it's really inefficient to do. You have to have a different query for each combination. So they have to change that.
Yeah.
That's on them. And I've crawled right up their backlog to be sure of it. And this is one of those cases where the technical debt to pay off if we did it the hacky way would be considerable. Like I've been telling people, incur some tech debt here and there, like get things done. But in this case, like you would have to do such a weird hack in order to get sorting and filtering working. Don't even bother. And the same goes for really anything that where you run up against a serious limitation in the GraphQL API. Right now, I would say just punt the feature, complain about the API publicly in an issue, and then that will give us the best velocity.
Yep.
Right.
Net, don't sweat the wish list, and then for sorting and filtering, we'll come back around to that later. So, but this is exactly how it would look like when it's ready.
Perfect. And the last feature, the remove item is fully functional. That does actually interact with the REST API endpoint. And
quick note on this, and we had actually two things. One that I had forgotten to mention when I reviewed this earlier is the three. If you could go back to that, the three little dots. Those actually need to be top aligned to the row, not in the center. Because
I noticed in the mock-up you were just showing it was anchored to the top.
Yeah, that's one. The other one is I had talked about this earlier, is when they want to remove an item, we need to ask them to confirm that and not just remove it. We need some kind of interim, like, are you sure you want to remove this item from your cart? Because we want to prevent them from doing that as much as possible, right?
Yes.
So introducing friction there is a good thing.
Right.
And also sometimes fat fingers and you tap it by accident. So you want to give them a fail safe to not have to go back and re-add it in. So we definitely need some kind of treatment, and we can talk about what that user experience needs to be. I haven't worked on it yet, but those are my two notes.
Yeah, cool. And I do know too the modal was going to be, we're going to make it the Venia gray, right? Rather than the blue.
Yes, I believe so. That was the update. I was trying to distinguish between masking something versus using that to highlight something. So the teal usually works like on an active form field or for notification, but really here you're just telling them that that item is, or the background is kind of inactive as you're performing these actions in the foreground. And the way we're doing that in every other context is to have the dark sort of gray mask. So I think it fits a little bit better with that model, unless somebody disagrees, in which case we can definitely discuss it. But that was the thought.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah, none.
Okay. So awesome work, and thank you. I can't thank you guys enough for being constantly engaged and bringing things to me for feedback. It's been really great working with you guys on all of these pieces.
Yeah, likewise. Okay, I think that's it for our presentation, right?
Perfect. Thank you, guys. So I think we've got one more item here. I just want to reach out. I know we've got Artem on the line, who's been working feverishly on the product slider experience. Artem, I know you tried to get a demo and tried to share some things about 2 weeks ago, and we were running into some hosting challenges. Anything you'd like to share for this week, or would you prefer to hold off on that for product slider? All right. I'll assume that is more later, and I think what I'll do is I'll reach out to him afterwards, and we can do an animation and such. So what Arden, just so for everybody to follow along, what Arden's working on is not just the product slider, but really our foray into the CMS.
Are you still there?
Oh yeah, hey Artem.
Yeah, that was awesome. Sorry. Actually, do you hear me? I hope. Yeah. Actually,
We can.
yep. So according to product slider, I had a meeting with Jimmy, with Sami about front end, how it should look like, and especially for architectural stuff. So yeah, I'm currently on it. And for also I made a new component, CMS block component, and actually I can show something if wait a second.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yep. I hope this one. Do you see something? No.
We do.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, awesome. So, yeah, it's a product slider currently on it, but yeah, for CMS block component, I checked the schema and there was possibility to use multiple CMS blocks inside the query. So that's why I did it. I did it like it is. Wait a second. Yeah, actually here it is. So yeah, one, and then second one inside one component. Yeah, that here is was a code review from the guys. Yeah, actually, I'm completely agree, and I will make some changes for this component. So, yep, that's currently it. What I can show right now. So it's the same as block. Actually, we can use it obviously like this.
Art, would you agree simply to let us merge it as is, and then for you to open an additional pull request to refactor it to use a function as child, the way we discussed?
Yep, no problem. It's actually up to you how to do it. I mean,
it is. But I do want. I'm glad you like the idea. I do want to implement the idea, and I would love it. Let's backlog it, actually.
Yeah.
But let's get this thing merged because I'm excited to use it.
Yep, no problem.
Perfect. Yeah, and one side note, so on the merge itself, we'll work with Samia. So she made note of it last week. The images we had there were a bit placeholder, and so we're going to take some from the proper Venya catalog. It shouldn't be completely different, but we want to make sure that with what we have, just like the rest of the product imagery, that it's got the right licensing and such. And so we'll swap those out during the merge. That should be pretty easy. So cool.
Hey,
well, very good. Well,
since
yes, Samia.
Since this is a demo theme, are you sure you want to use images from the Venya catalog or add some from Adobe stock that actually are better visuals?
Hey, if you'd like to raise the bar and see what we've got with our new family, I would love to see it. And so this will probably all go down here, the next few days and such. But I'd love to get your help and get your perspective on it. So.
I would love to raise the bar on the quality of the visuals, at least for the homepage. We don't have as much control over the product catalog, but I think definitely for wherever we can.
Perfect. Duly noted. Then we'll add you as a contributor to this merge as for the right imagery. Then. So thank you.
Okay, sure thing.
Perfect. Well, that's it. Amazingly, we finished up quite early, but we covered a tremendous amount of progress during the sprint. Some of which we did internally, and then quite a bit of it from the community. And so. Any other comments or questions that we wanted to cover before we break for this demo?
I think it's worth demoing a thing that we were able to merge in. I can't demo it because the city of Austin has issued a boil my computer warning. You must boil it at a rolling boil of 3 minutes before whatever is infecting it is fully neutralized. And I'll deal with that later. But if anyone has yet used the GraphQL playground that we added, say something now. Has anyone used it?
I have used it. It is pretty cool.
Thank you. Would you like to demonstrate it? Because there may be those on the call who have not used it, and it would be nice to see. We've documented it and stuff, but no, do you guys have a computer to do a demo on at the ready?
Unfortunately, the computer we use for presentations is not super great and doesn't have any of the stuff on it. It's also Windows, so that's problematic. So I can't demonstrate it.
Sure. Who's got a working PWA Studio with a development server right now? Normally it would be me, but again, the flooding has destroyed my computer. I'm gonna look around and pick. Well, Eric, you probably can do it.
I'm in between two
You're in between?
simultaneous
Okay.
builds right now.
Hey,
so,
Art.
yeah.
Art Kozinets, can you share your screen with a dev server? Maybe not.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? It's okay. I would say the coolest thing about it is that you can view the entire GraphQL schema, and I don't know.
Let me see if I get it.
Yeah. Okay, so James
Right.
Calvin is going to try to do it. And that is among the last few things that we're going to be adding to the dev tooling.
Yep.
And this isn't really, I guess, demo news, but you know, my job from here on out is to act as bug fixer for the setup process and to take care of all of the sort of P0s that occur in that respect.
What do I get?
Right.
Hey, fantastic. So you just go to /graphical. It should have been one of the, yeah, there you go. Share your screen. Hey, look, something is working. Shiny. So James Calcum is going to show it to us.
Here we go. So
Yeah, so if you go to /graphical, and you can show your terminal, James, and show that it actually lists this URL.
So he probably has app share versus.
Okay, no problem. It lists the URL, so you should be able to see it and click on it from your terminal. But what this does is it collects all of the GraphQL files that it can see in your project. And there may be a future enhancement where we can actually plug into the build and watch both inline GraphQL tags and GraphQL files go by and then aggregate them all so that we can put them in these tabs for testing. But this is like graphical, something that EPAM was requesting. Nazar is on the line from EPAM, and so is Dimitri. So if you can see this, and so is Vitaly, and so, yeah, so great. You guys now have the ability to use something a little bit more sophisticated than Postman. So you don't have to manually create the JSON. So click the you can click the plus sign there, James, and well, that opens a new tab. I said plus sign. I meant play sign. So over in Get Product Detail, the Get Product Detail tab, that one should have. If you click play, that's not going to work. So click Query Variables, which is down at the bottom left. And you can add JSON. This is how graphical works. Did it? There you go. So now, I can, yeah, I can push faster that way. Thank you. So looks like this thing requires an on-server Boolean, which is something I added so that we could only include meta information when it was necessary. So on server, we set that to true, so we get all this. It's not true right now, but whatever. And then URL key, well, hey, let's make that, I don't know. What's a good one? Is that a thing? I forget. And then, and run it, that's not the thing. I'm suddenly running out of brain to remember any of the URLs in the Venia catalog because of the way this morning has gone.
Well, and it depends on which catalog he has hooked up as well.
That's true, but I'm gonna go see an example of something that has a thing, Augusta. There we go. So Augusta. Hearings. Should work. Okay, no, I just destroyed everything. Okay. URL key. And it might be, that could be it. Nope. I have to get rid of the suffix. Okay, don't know why it's not working, and you know that seems par for the course, but still.
Did you want to try something from Luma, like the Joust duffel bag, real quick?
Oh, okay, yeah.
See if that is just a
Joust duffel. Well, no, because the
depends on where it's coming
the
from.
Venia data.
Yeah.
This is Luma.
No, this is Venia.
Okay, got it then.
Okay. Well, I mean, for some reason, it's just not. We're not loading up, and this is something I think you found. Okay, so Isidore's skirts. Maybe that'll work. We're gonna get data. Yes. Okay. So every tooth pulled, we have demoed this, and now obviously you can, you know, adjust the query to as you see fit. And if you haven't used graphical, there's actually a fair bit of autocomplete functionality because of what. That's not working. But if I set, why won't anything work? It should be auto-completing, and it's not. And I don't know why. But maybe it's because the schema is not populating because you're connected to a production instance. Isn't that right? That's what it is, yeah. So if you have a local instance that's in development mode, then it should populate this schema. And I happen to, and so if you got it connected, then this is going to be like basically full auto-generated documentation for GraphQL, which will help you out a lot. Separately, we're working on getting the production into development mode, so this issue shouldn't occur. But
yeah, just on the local, and I probably didn't put it into.
No, I mean, thank you very much for your time, guys. I thought that was a nice thing that's going to help and aid in development.
I think that's great. So let's also key up a doc update with some of that as well. Just a few steps on how this might look.
It already
is, yeah. So
to verify it.
Okay, cool. All right, good stuff. Any other comments or questions before we break?
Nope. Thanks a lot.
Nope, all good.
Okay. Well, very good. Well, hey, thank you so much, everybody. Have a great rest of your Monday. And again, thank you so much for everyone for their contributions. These demos continue to be bigger and better, and it really has a lot to do with the people on the call here. So thanks again for everything. Let us know if you have any questions, and we'll talk soon.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Have a nice day.